welcome to another episode of the Afterburners podcast. I am your host, Sam Niedermeyer. With me, as always, fresh off another birthday in which the country was celebrating on Bobby Day, Mr. Bobby Koch. Bobby, happy belated birthday, my friend.
Thank you. I'm doing pretty well for 243-year-old. Is that how old I am today?
Yeah, in 1776, a bunch of white landowners and got together and created a thing called Bobby Day. It was amazing.
They created a thing called Bobby. I've been around forever. I'm like the Highlander.
We keep making these ideas of like, oh, I'm like a Highlander. I'm like really old, but you're making me feel worse and worse when I hear this because obviously I'm considerably older.
No, I mean, you're only in your 30s. I'm 240-something. I've got many years on you.
I think it was fun to see everyone rally around together and kind of give you some love on social media with some little nice video compilations, some nice tweets. But it's safe to say that I am ready for Crush Bobby Day to make a full entry into this.
Really quick shout out to the people who sent me a birthday message. That was a nice surprise. And the fantasy community in general has been really kind to me. In fact, right now I'm drinking a bottle of Four Roses that John and Travis, who are two of our guests tonight, as well as James Katulis, sent for my wedding. So fantasy community, thanks again. And that will be the nicest I am tonight because later I'm just going to burn some people probably.
So you mentioned Travis and John, and they're with us. We're going to introduce them right now as we get into the show. They're going to help us talk some homerism stuff with the Cardinals and the Broncos, and then whatever the hell else we feel like talking about. So let me go ahead and introduce them. These guys are the writers over at Dynasty League Football. They are also 2/3 of the hosting team over at SuperFlex Super Show. We had James on a couple months ago. He was talking all Cleveland. Today, we got the other two jabronis of the threesome, as I like to call them. John, Travis. We'll start with you. Travis, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to finally learn that Bobby is, in fact, the creation of a bunch of old white men.
Yeah, it's something most people don't know about me.
The world makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, I'm a country. Good thing that we never knew that before.
A country of nothing but hot Blake Bortles takes.
That's true.
Oh, see, I was envisioning these old white men just got in a room and then Bobby came out of it.
I mean, I am an idea, so I guess that's accurate. That's how it happened. It went down.
You also do act quite old for your age as well. I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Yeah, it would make sense if a bunch of old men created me because I do act like an old man. So that's why I have the personality of an old man.
We also got John from the Superflex Super Show as well. John, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on, my friend.
Dude, thanks for having me. And happy birthday, Rec. I don't know if anyone calls you that, but they should. Everyone should.
Somebody does now.
Never called me that out loud before. I've heard
really?
of things, but never Rec. Yeah.
So I just started something new in the 200 however many years history. I just founded a new territory essentially.
Yeah, you know what the most common one is? Just to go off on a very quick tangent, it's Bobo. I don't know why that's become the most common one. It kind of reminds me of the clown, but that's it.
Is that just like the fantasy community, or is that like your other friends too, right? Like pre-Bobby fantasy.
That was in high school too.
Yeah.
Somehow it came back.
That's not too bad. It's not too bad. We got a great show today for you. Like I said, we got Travis and John from the Superflex Super Show podcast. They're just going to come on. We're going to talk Cardinals. I think, Travis, you're the Cardinals fan, right? And then John is the Broncos fan. We'll go into a little bit of Bradford, Josh Rosen, Case Keenum, maybe Paxton Lynch. I don't know. I don't want to talk
Chad
about
Kelly.
We can talk about Paxton Lynch. We might as well. One last time.
We're specific.
Chad Kelly.
With the Cardinals going to talk about Christian Kirk just to annoy John.
Oh,
Yes,
God.
yes.
Yeah, why not? Just somehow he comes up. So we just had an episode of the Super Show release today, and we played Tinderflex. And I don't want to give too much away, but Travis finds a way to end up in the loving arms of Christian Kirk in the most most interesting and amazing ways. It'll blow your mind how he ends up how he finds Christian Kirk. It was
pretty epic.
Yeah. Epic is a word for it. Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to hear that over at the Superflex show. It's at Superflex on Twitter, right? That's the handle.
At Superflex Show.
Oh, sorry, yeah, at Superflex Show. So, all right, guys, let's get started. Why don't we go ahead and introduce yourselves, Travis? Where can the people find you over on Twitter or any other handles? John, you follow up, and then we'll get the show cracking.
Yeah, you can find me at Travis NFL on Twitter. And yeah, follow the show account too, at Superflex Show. That's pretty much it.
Yep, and I'm at Superflex Dude. And again, yeah, start with the Superflex Show, and then it just kind of trickles down from there.
And you can find me at Rec Fantasy. That's REKED Fantasy. You can find my work, as always, at Dynasty League Football on 2 quarterbacks. And this is the Afterburners podcast. My friend Sam can be found at The Needy One on Twitter. And he has a pretty dope Instagram handle as well. And we're dropping the Insta in honor of Mike Gervais.
Yeah, okay. I'm at the Needy. Everything's just at The Needy One. It's all there. And don't forget to we're looking for reviews, right? Do we have one yet?
We got 1 review, so we're still looking for some more reviews. Just a reminder, if you review and rate the show, and it doesn't even matter what you rate it, if you just leave us a review, if we get to 10, we're going to start making shirts with our logos, and we will give out shirts to the first 10 people to review it. And then after that, we may start selling the shirt. Not sure, but you will get a free shirt if you review the show.
And one lucky winner of one of those 10 shirts will get a kiss on the shirt from Bobby with lipstick on. That's what we're gonna plug, and people are gonna want that. So before we get started, I have to tell you guys, Bobby got me started listening to the Superflex Show, Superflex Super Show, and I have to say I do a terrible job of giving recommendations for fantasy football on Twitter, because most of my tweets are just random musings of my mind because I'm a psychopath. And I have to say your show is among my favorite, because I think it's the 3 of you, also with James. He's at _James the Brain. If you guys want to follow him as well. The 3 of you have such a great rapport. The editing sounds great. It's very, very well done. I say, guys, you do an excellent job, and it's just a really good hour plus of listening. So really, really well done show, everyone. You got to check it out when you have a chance.
So you guys want me to leave? I can leave, so you can be alone.
At least dim the lights. No, really appreciate that, Sam. That's a huge compliment. Been listening to you guys for a while too, and this is personally one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. So it's an honor to be here and to accept your praise.
Yeah, let the circle jerk begin, gentlemen.
I would say it'd be nice to see you, John, but we all know, as the viewers know, you're probably naked, so we can't see you.
Correct.
On YouTube.
This is normally Afterburners is a little bit not safe for work. This is like the X-Steamy XXX version of that.
Correct.
We had a pretty NSFW one with Shane too, a DFS Shane. So, all right, guys. Travis, you are a Cardinals fan, right?
That is correct.
So, first question I want to ask you is, what do you think about the Sam Bradford contract?
I mean, I like it, honestly. I'm okay with it. We didn't know going in if we were going to be able to draft anybody, so I'm okay with what they did there in the free agency period. I mean, you got to lock down somebody, and obviously we did not win the Kirk Cousins or even the Case Keenum sweepstakes. So Sam Bradford's okay for leftovers. I'm glad, though, that they finally made a move and realized that they need to actually try to lock down a franchise quarterback and made that trade in the draft. So I like both. I like both signing, or I like the signing and the draft pick.
Yeah, it's great. I think we all on the same page. We love the Rosen draft pick. We thought it was great. I know Bobby is really happy that Josh Rosen is not a New York Giant and is instead an Arizona Cardinal. I didn't really know that the Bradford contract was actually kind of protects the Cardinals from injury too. There's all these incentives and bonuses that if Bradford's injured, he's just not going to hit.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, the second year is pretty much all team option. So it boils down to a 1-year deal. And it'll probably be that because they drafted Josh Rosen. So I think they did that as a fail-safe, not knowing if anybody was going to fall to him. And the fact that Rosen fell to 10 and they were able to make that trade up was pretty crazy. I mean, that just kind of worked out perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned Josh Rosen does go at number 10. What are your initial thoughts right now? Again, as a Cardinals fan, Josh Rosen. for the Cardinals?
I didn't watch the draft. I was listening to the radio coverage on my headphones in my kitchen because #dad life, and I was making dinner or something. And when they announced Cardinals trading up to 10, I jumped up and down in my kitchen and screamed, and my wife was giving me like the dirtiest look, and my kids were freaking out. So needless to say, I was pretty stoked for it.
John, what do you think about Josh Rosen in terms of being a franchise quarterback? Is he one?
Oh, absolutely. He's the franchise quarterback right now. And I mean, to me, Sam Bradford was brought in before they knew that Josh Rosen falls that far, and they actually have a chance to get him. Because to me, Josh Rosen is a starter in Arizona week 1. I've been saying that kind of ever since he's been in that uniform. I think he beats out Sam Bradford. It's not even about injury to me. Josh Rosen is the most polished rookie quarterback in this entire draft class, and I think that he's ready to start day 1.
Well, I mean, he's wrong. No, I mean, it's not outside of the realm of possibility, but it's unlikely in my opinion. I mean, Sam Bradford is a solid starter in the NFL, and as good as we think Josh Rosen is or could be, he's a rookie, dude. He's there. I mean, for him to come in and start week 1, like the rookies that get drafted that start week 1 have crap behind them going into the season, and Sam Bradford is not crap. I think we've talked about this before on our show, John, but I think Bradford starts as long as he's healthy and as long as they're not like totally sucking as a team. I mean, if we're in week 6 and we're 1-5, sure, I could see that happening. As far as a benching goes, if obviously if he gets hurt, they're going to start him. But I just don't think that you start a rookie quarterback when you've got a solid option ahead of him.
He's actually got some pretty good numbers. Sam Bradford does in his career. It's just he can never stay healthy.
Sam Bradford is not a bad quarterback, and I kind of see it both ways here. Where I'm with Travis that I don't think Rosen starts week 1, but I also think that Rosen probably starts, we'll say, within the first 6 games of the season, he is named starter.
2018? Like this season?
Yeah, this season, Rosen's going to start some games. And I say that because the Cardinals, with all due respect to Travis, they don't have a great offense, at least on paper at the moment. As much as I like Christian Kirk for the long term, and yes, I did have to mention Christian Kirk because we said we were going to talk about him.
I think we've almost hit our quota, though.
Yeah,
not even close.
I have a hard time seeing the Cardinals being a playoff team this season, and if they're not a playoff team, that means that Sam Bradford, at least in my opinion, should not be starting anymore.
Yeah, don't you feel like Josh Rosen actually gives them the best chance at the playoffs, though? That's kind of where I'm coming at this from. The idea of Sam Bradford starting even one game, it just reeks of, we're calling this a lost season. We're packing it in, and it just the idea of it just loosens my bowels, man. Let Josh Rosen do what he can. just get him out there. And I mean, if you're not going to make the playoffs anyways, just get him out there from day 1, get him the experience, and who knows what they can do with him.
So the difference, John, I think is, and Travis is chomping at the bit here, so I'm going to let it go in a second. But I think the difference is that while we don't think the Cardinals can make the playoffs, the Cardinals think they can make the playoffs, or else they wouldn't be making some of the moves that they've been making. And so they're going to start Sam Bradford because, at least in their mind, he does give them the best chance at the playoffs, whether we agree with that or not. So he's going to start. He's not bad. He's been injured, but he did not this past season, but in 2017, he did break Drew Brees' single season completion record. So it's not like he's a bad quarterback by any means.
Well, that's definitely true. And he was very efficient too in 2016, but his it was on a lot of dump offs. He was horrible once they got to the red zone. And I mean, and a big part of it was that offensive line in Minnesota just could not protect him. And I think that Arizona is going to struggle the same way. I don't know. I think that you want a guy who's a little bit more mobile. And I mean, his knees are soup, you know. Josh Rosen is the guy who can actually move around in the pocket and possibly give you a chance to make some plays even on busted plays.
Let's let Travis talk before he has an aneurysm.
He's so pissed.
No. Man.
Look how red he is.
Hey, man. That's messed up.
So fired up. That's all it takes.
So, listen, I like Josh Rosen, dude, but it just boils down to he's a rookie. And the Cardinals, like Bobby said, think that they don't think they're in a rebuild. They think that they're ready to come in and try this one more time with Larry Fitzgerald. Mm-hmm. I agree it's a below average offensive line for sure, but I think that they think Sam Bradford gives them the best chance to win games, and that's why they're going to start him. If I like you said, if they start Sam Bradford, they're basically saying we're throwing the season away. I think it's the other way around. If you start Josh Rosen week 1, you start your rookie quarterback, that to me is saying this is a season that we're not planning to succeed. You're not. How many rookie quarterbacks come in and lead their teams to the playoffs?
Ben Roethlisberger did it.
Okay, 13 years ago. What's another example? I was just gonna say I can't besmirch my boy Andrew Luck. He did do that his rookie year, but it doesn't happen very often, man. And
rookie quarterbacks don't generally play particularly well.
Right. So I think it's the opposite. I think if they start Josh Rosen, they're basically admitting that they're throwing the season away and they're looking towards the future. And I don't think they're ready to do that yet. And I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I think that I think Rosen starts games this year for sure. I just don't think it's week 1. I think they're probably not going to make the playoffs. Josh Rosen will start at some point. Sam Bradford's decent, and I like Sam Bradford a lot, but I mean, he's not a prolific elite quarterback by any means, you know. I mean, even him playing isn't anything to write home about as far as team wins. So I think he plays, but it's just not week 1, in my opinion.
So I remember in 2000, sorry to bring this back up to the Steelers, but when Ben Roethlisberger did come in, he came in for Tommy Maddox. And I remember Pro Bowler Alan Faneca, they interviewed him the press were interviewing him oh, how does it feel? Are you excited to play with a rookie? And he was like, no, why would I want a rookie quarterback? I imagine that mentality is shared with a lot of veterans. And so to your defense, in your favor, to your defense, I believe that if they were to say, yeah, you know what, Josh, why don't you start week 1? That's going to piss off a lot of veterans in that locker room. They're going to want the guy that's –
yeah, because everybody thinks that they're giving up. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You don't start a rookie quarterback week 1 if you expect to win games or go to the playoffs.
I also want to know what's going on in some of these GMs' heads in which they actually think their team has a chance. That do they actually think their team has a chance? What was going on through Cleveland's GM last year? Granted, they made some personal moves in this offseason, which I think we all agree were probably good moves. But starting before 2017 season, what's going on through the GM of a shitty team? Yeah, you know what? I think we're going to be all right this year. Definitely not 0-16. I'm not saying the Cardinals are going to be 0-16, but sorry, Travis. I don't think they're going to be that good.
Wow, this is completely shitting on the Cardinals, Travis.
This is fun so far.
You made the Browns sound better than your favorite team. He just insulted you and James in pretty much the same sentence.
Sure.
Yeah, John's eating it up.
Yep. I'm just kicking back and enjoying my nudity and this conversation.
So what is so Sam? Let's talk Superflex and 2 QB leagues. What's the value or perceived value of a Sam Bradford right now?
I think most people are pretty down on him. just because it's Superflex, though, I'd say he still holds like a mid to late second round value.
I personally wouldn't pay that, but it's not a bad evaluation. I was thinking like 2/3, but I also think that's probably not enough to get the owner to give him up.
Yeah, just because I think people still are holding hope that there's a chance that he starts 4 to 8 games for them or something and helps them out.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where it becomes subjective, right? Because I mean, to me, he has more value to the Josh Rosen owner as the handcuff because he's not going to start.
Sure.
Josh Rosen is.
You guys see what I have to deal with every week?
I will say this is probably the most disagreement between the guests that we've had on.
That's why you had us here, right?
Yeah, that was to be expected, I think.
We had to spice up the podcast by having people disagree with each other more.
So how about Josh Rosen? Like, is he – and I'm not talking about perceived value. I'm talking about perceived value amongst all the rookie quarterbacks, the class from this year. Where do you guys rank him?
He's number 2 for me.
Yeah, we actually do agree on this one. He's a close second to Baker Mayfield for me.
Yeah, I heard this earlier on Twitter, but it's the Grand Canyon in here in the echo chamber. He's number 2 to Baker for me, too.
I actually had him 1. I actually had him 1 just because I think he's going to have a longer career, and I think he's going to be a little bit more stable for you from week to week.
He's probably safer, and he probably has a little bit higher floor. But I just like Baker for the ceiling. I think that he's got the potential to be one of those dynamic playmakers in this league. That it's just way too hard for me to pass up an opportunity to take a guy like that.
What John's really trying to say is that he thinks that Baker Mayfield ranks higher on his QB handsomeness rankings than Josh Rosen, and so he's just more sad.
Oh man, I don't know about that. Josh Rosen's a good-looking dude, I think.
I don't think he's very good-looking.
But have you seen in comparison Sam Darnold?
Oh, God.
AKA like the worst of the rookie quarterbacks?
Yeah, that guy's all forehead. Yeah, that's not.
Sam Darnold's Sam Darnold's a very niche looking guy. Like there's some people out there that just think he's the sexiest mofo in existence, but not very many.
They clearly also haven't seen John off camera.
Yeah,
none of us
very
have.
True. Very true.
Yeah, because he's usually naked and not showing a picture.
Right.
Yeah. How are you going to compete with that, with the guy who's always naked?
Sam Darnold, I think I made this joke one time. I'm going to say it again. This guy took a nosedive off the ugly tree and hit every single branch on the way down.
Damn.
And yeah, I'm not afraid to say it. I'll say what though. You know what I like about Baker Mayfield? I will put Baker Mayfield number 1 if he is like, even if he's like a shitty quarterback his rookie year, but he keeps that that moxie and he keeps that that talk shitiveness. I love that. Grabbing the crotch.
Yeah, man.
That's what I like.
So many people are so down on him for that, and that fiery attitude is one of the things I love most about him.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as back to the aesthetically pleasing part, though, when he grabs his crotch and it doesn't even fill his one hand, he probably lost some points there. So that's where Josh Rosen passes him, I think. Yeah, less than a handful. That's not a good thing.
That's a big deal because another knock on him is small hands. So that's even worse.
Baker Mayfield has his burn book or whatever it is, of people who say negative.
John just made it.
Yeah, we just jumped to the top of that list apparently.
For the record, I did not. I'm not on that. It was John. John made the list.
John, I'm throwing you under the bus too.
That's fair. Yeah.
When I judge my favorite athletes, I want them to be having a full-blown Pringles can in their pants, and if they're not, I'm very upset.
That's right. Especially your quarterback.
Oh yeah,
Teddy Bridgewater.
Your quarterback has to have a name for his penis.
What do you think the name of it is? What do you think he would call it?
He probably has to call it Mr. My Penis.
I was gonna say, what if you called it the pastry chef? Because he's a baker, little bitty pastry chef.
All right, let's change gears from Baker's éclair and let's go toward John's neck of the woods, Denver. John, you excited about Case Keenum joining your boys?
Oh yeah, I love it. I have no idea about the size. I have no idea what he's packing, but I do know that Case Keenum had an unbelievable season last year. Very underrated. I almost made my afterburner of the week. The way Minnesota Vikings fans view their quarterbacks, regardless of who it was. But in this case, Case Keenum gets you to the NFC Championship game. You go 13-3, then you get steamrolled by the best team on the planet, and all of a sudden, Case Keenum was just a flash in the pan, a one-time thing. I can tell you guys for a fact that he is outperforming both Paxton Lynch and Chad Kelly by several miles right now in OTA.
Inside information right there.
Yeah, it's not even close right now.
I'm looking at Case Keenum's numbers last year. He gets some good numbers. You're right, 3,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, only 7 picks, 67% completion percentage. The only thing I think that you could put a knock on him, at least from my end, is those are way above his statistical averages year in, year out. So I don't necessarily think he's going to have a big drop-off, but you could make the argument that he is looking to regress ever so slightly.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think that we could probably say that about just about any quarterback who's ever had a breakout season, So, and that's kind of what I'm looking for here is the fact that this is, by the way, Case Keenum threw for over 5,000 yards. He was the most prolific passer in college.
Yeah. He was. I think he went to Houston, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this easily could just be a matter of it clicked, it came together. Here's the breakout season. Here's what you're getting from him from now on. And I know that he's at 30 years old. That's kind of he's kind of a late bloomer, and it's tough to expect to repeat that when you'd like to see that, in the 23-year-old season. But, this just happens. This happens from time to time. These guys, it just takes a while for the pro game to click for them. And then once it does, they're off and running.
Just to back up John a little bit there, I did some research because I'm probably going to end up writing a Case Keenum article.
Yes.
But over his last 24 starts where he attempted at least 10 passes, he was a fantasy QB2 16 of those games, so a little over 66%. And actually, he was a QB1 10 of them. So he's had some pretty good fantasy numbers, and he's going very, very cheaply. In one league, I actually traded Sam for him. I traded Phillip Rivers for Case Keenum in a 2019 first in a Superflex league. And that was before I started doing this research. I know he's going from – the one thing I am concerned about with Case Keenum is he had Pat Shurmur as a coach before, and Pat Shurmur has somewhat proven himself, at least to me, as a QB whisperer, which I'm hoping he takes to the Giants with him because we need that for Eli Manning and whoever else comes after Eli Manning. But
he certainly has data.
I haven't looked too much into that's actually Gettleman. I haven't looked too much into the coaching in Denver to see their history with developing quarterbacks, and that's going to be part of my research for that article. So, John, if you know anything there, feel free to enlighten me.
Hey, guys, you can find that article. It's going to come out here soon. Not sure when, but Bobby will definitely tweet about it on Dynasty League Football. Travis, are you on the Case train?
I mean, kind of. Not to the extent that John is, though. My issue really is, basically what John just said. How often does a 30-year-old quarterback all of a sudden and turn into a franchise QB who wins playoff games? Not very often. And that's kind of where I'm at is I still view him as far as fantasy is concerned, like Superflex, I view him as kind of a bridge quarterback still, where he hasn't really locked in long-term value for me. Like he's valuable and I like him for this year, But my issue is there's a chance that he underperforms this year and goes back to being a fringe starter at the level he was just 12 months ago. You know, I mean, he wasn't even a starter. So that's where I'm just more hesitant. I like Case Keenum, and obviously he impressed last year, but I view him as a very temperamental asset, I guess you could say, in that he could easily fall or rise either direction. So it's hard for me to just buy in fully.
Is he a safe QB2 in your opinion?
For this year, but again, that's what I'm like. I would like to have maybe a rookie QB3 behind him or something, like because of that risk that I feel is there, and that he could, if he underperforms for 8 games or 16 games, like he could be a backup in the NFL in the 2019 season. Like that's a real possibility for me. So I like him for this year. I'm okay with him as a QB2. I mean, that's really like he's close to the bottom of who I'd want at QB2. But I'd like to have some younger upside guys behind him just in case that happens, you know?
I can see here's where I think the case value, for me at least, and guys, you can.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. I was trying to do a little dad joke that you are so eloquently good at. And feel free to bash me when I'm done, because my opinions are usually garbage. Last year, the Denver defense, though statistically they were pretty good, they gave up a ton of points. I don't see Denver having kind of any type of running game, and certainly not one that they had in Minnesota last year. So
you better be careful. You're about to jump on my boy Royce Freeman here.
Royce Freeman, yeah, I wanted to go ahead and make sure I put that in there for you. And I could see most of his value being kind of like, it's not necessarily like real game value, because maybe he just throws a couple touchdowns late. But Bobby's one of these guys that talks a lot about this, where, you know, garbage touchdowns do matter in fantasy. If they ever get into a situation in which they're giving up a lot of points again this year, you could see Case's numbers, especially in fantasy, regardless of interceptions, go pretty well. Like, any takes on that?
I definitely have some opinions there. So basically, here's my answer. I'm projecting Case Keenum to do exactly what he did last year. And some of that was garbage. Some of that was game flow. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that you're just getting what you had last year from Case Keenum. I don't necessarily think they're going to be playing from behind a lot. I think that they can run the ball okay. I think at the end of the day, though, I don't think that it's necessarily going to be a fourth quarter type of thing. I don't think he's going to make you sit there and sweat. But I want to throw some stats at you guys real quick. I actually had this on the podcast on our show last a week ago, I guess. But I just want to get it out to the entire universe here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So real quick, in 2017, the Minnesota Vikings rushed the ball 501 times, 1,957 yards. That's a 3.9, an average of 3.9 yards per carry. The Denver Broncos, 457 rushing attempts, 1,852 yards, 4.1 yards per carry average. So Denver was actually 0.2 yards per carry better there. Minnesota's offensive line was ranked 22nd by Pro Football Focus. Denver's was 23rd. Minnesota's defense allowed 4,415 yards, ranked number 1 overall, and Denver's 4,640 yards allowed, ranked number 3 overall. So these were very, very similar rosters. And the only difference was obviously the record, obviously the outcome, and the quarterback. So, I mean, to me, that just tells me that Case Keenum was the difference.
That's cool. That's good stuff there, John.
What about all the different personnel with the Vikings, though? Also, I'd just like to point out, these sound like stats that you pulled after having an argument directly with Jake Anderson. Jake just got into it, and you're like, no, let me show you why you're wrong.
That is way, 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 way more accurate than you will ever know. Yeah, that came up literally minutes after Kirk Cousins signed with the Minnesota Vikings. That's when I decided to dig into this. So yeah, absolutely. That's where that came from.
And for people who aren't familiar with Jake Anderson is another writer at DLF Football. His handle is at NFL Draft Talker. This is the second time I've dropped his name on a pod, so hopefully he appreciates that. I appreciate all the free graphics and different graphics he's done for me over the past year or so. And he and Clint, and I always forget Clint's last name, are making Twitter avatars and team logos for the Scott Fish Bowl over at SFB Abby Makers on Twitter. So if you need one, donate $5 and you can get a pretty sweet avatar. And speaking of Scott Fish Bowl, this leads into something else I want to talk to you guys about. So I know the two of you are in Scott Fish Bowl, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Yeah, you're good.
Sam is not, because he's not cool enough to sign up. Apparently, he just didn't care. No, Sam cares. Yeah, Sam cares. He just didn't.
Sam's reaction tells me that that's not a true statement.
Yeah. Sam actually did not know about Scott Fish Bowl. I explained to him what it was, and he's very supportive. He just wasn't aware of what was going on.
And also, I talked to Josh Brickner about this, who I don't know his handle, but he's involved as well. And he was like, he was asking me about, I don't know if I have the time to keep up with all that stuff. Maybe that's a lazy excuse. Maybe it's more along the lines of what Bobby said. But look, it's an awesome thing. I think what he does is super special. It's really cool to see somebody kind of put the talents of what you do, at least in this niche industry, for a good thing. And I think it's really cool. So yeah.
Now so you guys are in what divisions?
I've got the Liz Lemon division.
I am in Parks and Rec.
All right.
That's the conference.
You're the Ron Swanson, right?
Yeah, Ron Swanson 2. Ron Swanson was so popular in requests that he had to make 2 Ron Swanson divisions. And I still feel honored to be one of the 24 people to get Ron Swanson. So
with that beard, you had to. That was a prerequisite.
Just real quick, I'm in the Eleanor Shellstrop from the Good Place division.
Nice.
But part of the reason I'm bringing this up is we all know that the SFB is to help kids get toys during the holidays who generally can't afford them for one reason or another. So it's a great cause. But besides that, because otherwise that probably should be your answer, what are you most excited about for Scott Fish Bowl with the draft kicking off on Monday?
Honestly, last year it was really cool the way that it connects analysts and fans within the industry is probably my answer, as lame and corny as that is. But last year I met some really cool people that were in my division, and we still communicate and we go back and forth on fantasy stuff. So and I would have never met them if it wasn't for the Scott Fish Bowl. So I think that's probably the coolest part for me, obviously, other than the $25,000 that Scott Fish has raised this year alone for Toys for Tots. So it's pretty awesome.
You're a first timer like I am, so I'm especially curious to hear what you have to say. What are you most excited about?
It is kind of a tough one for me. I mean, I feel like I should say the opportunity to play against such great fantasy minds, but my division is really, really stacked, and it's going to be difficult, and it's actually going to take the fun out of it, knowing that I've got an absolute murderer's row to go through here. I've got Marcus Mosher from Bleacher Report and Renee Miller from ESPN and Roto World and Liz Loza, and Josh Lake is in there as a fan, formerly of 2 QBs, and he basically he retired from writing about fantasy, and now he's in as a quote unquote fan. I'm just like, man, this is a division of killers. So I'm excited, though. I am very excited to see all of these minds in action. I'm excited to see how people go about their roster construction and some of the strategies, and knowing full well that there aren't going to be mistakes made in this. It's going to be a tough draft, and I'm looking forward to it.
Travis gave the answer that's like, you hate when professional athletes give, like, yeah, great team win. Really well together.
That's so true. But it's okay. It's okay because I qualified it as corny. So it's all good.
Just so you know,
honestly, I'm really looking forward to just smashing the shit out of the competition.
That's what I want. The Baker Mayfield.
I agree with both of what you guys said. I know that's a cop-out, but I'm very excited to get to play with a bunch of different analysts I haven't interacted with before and make some new friends, because I think that's what it's all about. But I'm also excited to hopefully smash those friends' faces in when I beat them in my division.
There you go.
There you go.
This drafts on Monday, correct?
Yeah, it starts on Monday.
And I remember I obviously had my medical issue a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah, wait, Sam, how's your asshole?
It's good, Travis. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
My asshole is well and cleared up now.
Is that our new guest tradition? You come on the Afterburners pod and you have to ask about Sam's asshole?
I originally didn't even want to say anything to you about it, and now the whole world that listens to our podcast knows about it.
I covered for you. You're the one who decided to out yourself.
We were talking about it in that episode, I remember. And kind of go over a little bit of like this. There's a lot of teams, right? There's like...
is it 480 or something like that?
No. He added some. It's 8. I want to say it's 840.
Jeez.
Yeah, something like that.
There 720 last year, and I think he added 120 this year.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
So how long is this draft going to last?
Well, the draft, so it's broken up into divisions of 12.
Yeah.
So each division has its own draft, more or less. So it's not going to be as long as you might think with that many teams.
What kind of draft is it? Auction?
No, it's snake. Yep. So Scott Fishbowl is a snake draft. It is a no trades allowed league. Correct me if I'm wrong at any point, Travis, since you're the one who's played before and I haven't. But you can make waiver pickups and pretty much do anything besides trade, right? Or no?
Yeah, that's correct. And there's the $100 fab budget. It's also redraft, which a lot of people. Yep. It's weird. It's weird because it's on MFL, but it's a redraft league, obviously. But yeah, it's cool. I think that I just was looking into the scoring the other day, and I think it'll be interesting to see the quarterback draft positions, because it's 6-point passing touchdowns and it's -4 per interception.
Yeah, wow. He has unique quarterback scoring.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
And it's Superflex, obviously. So you really, I mean, those
in the industry.
Yeah, those actually good quarterback, like Blake Bortles is just gonna fall.
Come on my podcast to remind me that your team took the quarterback I wanted my team to draft, and then you have the audacity to insult Blake Bortles.
You know what, dude? Blake Bortles might break even in this scoring format.
I follow the Blake Bortles Facts Twitter. It's like just.
Oh, dude, it's so beautiful. I love it.
Blake Bortles has never thrown an interception on the 4th of July. Oh man, but this is really cool. You guys are a part of this. I think it's a great thing that Scott does and hosts. I'm sure it takes him just an uber amount of time to do. So it's really cool to see him put time forward, and clearly he's a leader in this industry. I think we can all agree there. So good luck on your draft on Monday. We have a few minutes left, so talk to us a little bit about the SuperFlex Super Show, what you guys are up to, what you've been. Obviously, it's kind of some dead time. You guys are doing some pretty cool trade and polling stuff with the fans. Go ahead and give us a little spiel about what you're doing over there.
Well, I actually want to start with this, because this is actually a really good segue. We just had an episode come out a little bit late, so it just came out right before we went on air with you guys. And in that show, we had the privilege of announcing that we're doing a listener league, and it's going to be a redraft league. It's a Scott Fishbowl 9 satellite league. So the winner, so it's for listeners who are not in the Scott Fish Bowl 8 this year, can join, and the winner gets an entry into Scott Fish Bowl 9 next year. So
Sam, you're welcome.
Yeah, I was going to say, sounds like Sam signing up.
There we go. Just furious button typing.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. It's cool. I mean, obviously Scott agreed to let us do that and give away a spot next year. And basically the cool part is we're going to let as many people in as we can who want in, obviously, who aren't in this year. And the scoring is going to mimic the Scott Fish Bowl scoring for this year. So it'll be a cool intro and entry into that.
Well, when I join, I'll be sure to not draft Blake Bortles then at that point.
Correct. Yeah, that'd be the correct strategy.
That's great. That's an awesome thing. I think everyone can be excited for that. We'll certainly, anytime you guys have links or anything, we'll certainly share them from our Twitter accounts and the Afterburner Twitter account as well.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate that. Other than that, I mean, we just not much else going on other than we get on and fight with each other every week about each other's John's stupid opinions on stuff.
I actually had a quick question for you guys. So
Sure.
Tinderflex has become, I think, a staple of your show, right?
Yeah.
Somewhat, yeah. People like it.
I love it.
Here's a question, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot or blow up your spot, but was that inspired by the Afterburners pod? Because a while ago, Sam did like a dating game, swipe left or right for quarterbacks. And then John said that he was going to do a Tinderflex episode. And I think it was the first episode he ever did Tinderflex. And he made sure he wasn't stealing our thing. And I said it was okay. But the question is, did you have the idea before listening to our podcast? Or is Afterburners just so influential that we're
I mean, you're the influencer, right?
You are the influencer.
I mean, the honest truth is I hadn't listened to that episode yet. And I brought the idea to the guys. And they said, yeah, Bobby and Sam just did that. We might want to check with them. And so I listened to the episode and I was like, oh, damn. Like he's so influential that he's permeating my thoughts without me. I don't even have to listen anymore. It just kind of appears. I just kind of download it automatically.
Oh, that was actually really cool to see that we had similar ideas. And honestly, all credit for us doing it in the first place was just because of Sam and how much time he spends on dating apps.
To be fair, John used to spend a significant amount of time on them as well. So,
yeah, I don't know why you had to use the word significant, but yeah,
it's okay. I should say that now because you're engaged.
It was just nonstops, just a life of swiping. Yeah,
it's on Tinder, man. Just keep going right. You don't even think twice. Just keep going.
Yep, exactly.
Sam, are you swiping right or are you making it rain there? I wasn't sure.
I was doing both.
The two go hand in hand.
Just like this and make it rain. And John's out in Denver, and I'm sure there's a big pool of women on Bumble and Tinder, and I'm in New York, so it just kind of I always tell Bobby about my stories and stuff, and so everyone's always asking about, hey man, what's new on Tinder, or what's new on Hinge, or what's new on Bumble, and
yeah, there's a lot of them here in Denver, and I'm not related to all of them, so.
Look, there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that if it's out in Denver.
But yeah,
I think as long as it's third cousins, you're okay.
Yeah, third cousins 0 removed, or second cousins twice removed.
That's been a great segment of your show, though, and definitely appreciate it. I just had to ask because I've never asked you guys. I really wish that you came on our podcast to put you on the spot and see if it was us being the inspiration or not. But you guys have that. You also have you done your nuts in a while? I feel like that's kind of fallen by the wayside, right?
We still do that a little bit. We did a three. We called it Trace Margaritas last week, and we did 3 10-round mock drafts, and we threw in some your nuts. We threw in your nuts on that one. We have such a hard time saying that without giggling. Yeah. So we threw that in. Every third round we would have a reach for your nuts.
All right, love the show, guys. Again, everyone, you can follow them over at SuperFlex Show. That's the Twitter handle, correct? And then also, you are a Dynasty DLF Family of Podcast official show. That's correct as well, right?
Yep,
indeed.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're honored to be part of that. Some great shows over there. Yeah. You can subscribe to the DLF podcast feed, which is cool because you get all 5 or 6 or 7 of them all in one podcast feed. So that's pretty awesome.
Really awesome stuff. Love the show. Continue to do what you're doing. We're going to go. We have our final piece of the day we'll always go to is always the afterburns. I know you guys got some good burns for us lined up from the previous week or month or whatever, or whatever it was. Who wants to go first with their afterburn for this week?
I mentioned it once, but we can count that as talking about it. That's fine. So mine might come off as a little bit of an asshole afterburn. Haha, see? Basically, it's fireworks. And so before you jump on me about it, let me frame this a little bit. I'm a father of 5, and this isn't all fireworks, but so there's 2 specific situations I'm thinking of. We went to a fireworks show, 4th of July, obviously, this past week, and so these things are late, right? Obviously, it's got to be dark, and in Arizona right now, it doesn't get dark till like 8 o'clock. I don't know about the rest of the world. Anyway, so this thing starts at 9 o'clock, and I've got 5 kids ranging from 11 to 0, right? And so we're parked on the side of some fucking road somewhere, and we're like sitting out like on the dirt on the ground, and so my first afterburn is 45-minute long fireworks shows. They don't need to be that long. Give me 10 minutes, give me the finale, and let me get the F out of there. Okay. Yes. My second burn is neighbors doing fireworks in the street until 2 a.m. I don't mind people setting off fireworks in the neighborhood. But dude, like midnight, 11 o'clock, like, come on. Nobody wants you coming out at 2 a.m. setting off fireworks. I got dogs. I got kids. I'm an old ass grumpy man now. Just let it go.
You would have been very upset in Brooklyn last night because there was fireworks going off in front of my apartment with like cars driving around, people on bikes until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I think I put out a couple of tweets on my Twitter, and then there was people shooting the fireworks at like businesses and other people in Crown. Oh, it was crazy. You would not have been a fan where I live.
That's why I can never live in New York, man.
Bobby keeps laughing like he's got this like mischievous laugh. Like, yeah, that was me.
No, you caught me. No, I saw the videos, and I didn't even think, like, I woke up this morning and I saw a video of a woman in Brooklyn walking around with what looked like a rocket launcher.
It's like a mile away from my house.
Yeah, and she was just like shooting at businesses. You could see people away being like, oh shit, I'm going to die because of this idiot. And I'm laughing because, like, I'm a terrible friend, and I didn't even think to, like, text to see if Sam was alive or my other friends. Oh, they're fine, probably.
They actually made it onto the Barstool Sports Instagram. If you guys have that, they show the entire minute clip, and it's actually kind of dangerous, but it's kind of funny to laugh at.
Yeah, I kind of had a hard time deciding on one, to be honest with you guys, because over the weekend I went to Portland, and I had several of them come out of that trip. Portland is a lovely city, but yeah, I had some pretty bad experiences. But it all comes back to, for me, the flight over there. We get on the plane. It's been over 100 degrees every single day in Denver for 2 weeks now. And we get on the plane. I'm not going to say the airline because I actually really do like the airline. But this particular flight, we had to sit on the plane on the runway for 45 minutes with no air conditioning. They don't turn on the air conditioning in the cab. And for whatever reason, we just sat there, and I kept getting various excuses why we couldn't actually take off. And I finally just kind of figured out this is what it has to be. This pilot doesn't know how to fly this thing. He's never done this before. He has to learn real quick. I don't know if he has to read the instruction manual or watch a YouTube video or something, but he doesn't know how to take off. And then we finally did take off, and it was just turbulent as hell. And then when we landed in Portland, we did the thing where you fishtail all over the place, and you're not totally sure if he's going to get it stopped before we run into the terminal. And it just confirmed it for me. That was this pilot's first flight, and I was on it. And I had never even thought about it. There's a first flight for every single pilot. I would really like to think that they actually, spend some time in some kind of simulator or a classroom or something, but I kind of think they just wing it. I really do.
Well, I'm glad you're still with us, John.
Thank you.
That's like terrifying.
It was horrible.
Oh man!
But did you get any peanuts? And were either of them assaulted?
That's a good reference to your episode from last week, man, with that peanut joke. I had never laughed so hard. So my burn is somewhat similar to yours, John, but it has nothing to do with flying, so I guess it's not similar at all. It's been there's a heat wave going around the country. New York's been sweltering. I got to burn the 4, 5, and 6 trains on the east side of Manhattan. For some reason, number one, there's obviously like 50 million people always on the subway. But for whatever reason, they just don't have air conditioning on. There's no air conditioning in the subway because it's not ventilated like at the stations.
Cool.
But subways usually have air conditioning. 4, 5, 6 trains, which are completely packed at all times, no air conditioning. Like if you need a good workout in New York, take the 4, 5, or 6 train for 40 minutes in this sweltering heat, and you will lose a ton of lbs. I'm sure of that. So I basically take that, come visit Bobby, and I have been a disgusting mess the last 2 times I've come to visit.
You should get your pilot's license. I've heard it's pretty easy.
Honestly, how I'm not holding my nose right now, guys, I deserve a medal. But so I guess I'll go into my burn, and I had to think about it for a bit, and then I realized what it was. So this past week, I've seen 2 movies, and one of them was Solo, and Solo is great. I'm not burning Solo. What I am burning is the trailers that came before Solo, because it was action movie after action movie after action movie. And without even looking, I could have told you it would have been like, in a world where one man has to save his family and he's ex-military, played by The Rock with no character whatsoever, and there's only explosions. It's a skyscraper. It's Kong. It's whatever you want to call it, one word. And also we have the music from Inception. And I felt like I saw the entire movie just in the trailers. They'd be like, look at this explosion. The Rock jumps away. Look at this explosion. The Rock also jumps away from it. And now he's on the train. High-speed car chase. And I've said this on Twitter before. I like action movies if they have plot and character development. That's why I like superhero movies. But like the random ones that are all just like Michael Bay explosions with no plot and bad acting, no thank you.
They didn't at least rotate between The Rock, Mark Wahlberg, and Jason Statham?
I swear every single one was either The Rock or some guy that they're like, you look close enough to The Rock that people
Fun fact, those 3 movie stars you just mentioned, Travis, are each going to be running for president in 2020. So that should be
That's going to be a tough choice.
Yeah.
Guys, we're all
I'm just kidding. It's obviously Mark
And a
Wahlberg.
mediocre action movie.
Oh, man, we are out of time, guys. Really loved it. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. We're looking for to have you on again as we get close to the season, during the season, and hope you can be a part of that.
Nice. Thanks for having us on, guys. And again, Rec, that's the new nickname that comes with age. So happy birthday, man.
Yeah, thanks. And that's the old new nickname, I guess. It's just people have called me it online. They've just never called me out loud before, so that's weird.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having us on. I had a blast. We'll definitely come back on later.
That sounds great. So why don't you guys go ahead and give out your contact info and one more time, and then Bobby and I are going to wrap up.
Nice. Yeah, it all starts at Superflex Show, and then from there, follow me at Superflex Dude.
I am at Travis NFL, and our third compadre who could not be with us tonight is at _James the Brain. Check us out.
Yep, and you can find me at Rekt Fantasy. That's REKED Fantasy. Find my work at DLF Football, as well as Two Quarterbacks. Coming soon to a theater near you, Twitter Tough Guy, starring The Rock.
At the needy one, just for Twitter Tough Guy. This is the Afterburners podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Stitcher, Podbean, and iTunes. Subscribe, review. We want to get up to 10 so that we can send out those shirts. And don't forget to check out the SuperFlex Super Show with these guys. That's a wrap. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great weekend.
Until next time, keep it classy, Fantasy Twitter.
I went down, 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 and the flames went higher, and it burns, burns, burns.